2 men 1 baby 0 shame. This was normal life for one ancient tribe. And when you see what it actually did for that baby's chances of survival, you're gonna look at family a whole lot differently. Stick with me till the end because the numbers on this are wild. Now rewind. Way back. Before marriage certificates. Before anyone ever said till death do us part. Picture a small group. 30, maybe 40 people. Moving together across open land. Tens of thousands of years ago. Everyone slept close. Everyone knew everyone's business. There was no privacy. No secrets. No locked doors. And here's the thing people get wrong. We imagine ancient couples mated for life. One man, one woman, forever. Like some kind of prehistoric fairy tale. But that's not what the evidence shows. Among hunter-gatherer groups studied today, like the Hadza of Tanzania, only about 1 in 5 adults stays with the same partner for their entire life. Most people paired up, raised a child or two, and then moved on to someone new. Pairing and repairing wasn't a broken system. It was the system. So if lifelong loyalty wasn't the norm, what actually held these families together? What made a child's survival possible in a world with no hospitals, no formula, no safety net? That question is where this story really begins. Here's something nobody really talks about. A human baby is, biologically speaking, useless. Can't walk. Can't feed itself. Can't survive a single night alone in the wild. And this helplessness doesn't last weeks. It lasts years. Why? Because human brains grew enormous compared to other animals. That's a huge advantage later in life, but it comes at a brutal cost early on. Babies are born early, underdeveloped, completely dependent. And back then, the stakes were merciless. Close to half of all children never reached the age of 15. Predators, hunger, disease, a single bad season. Any of it could end a young life. So think about the math. One mother, alone gathering food and protecting a helpless infant and keeping a fire going? Nearly impossible. One father, alone, hunting for days while a baby needs constant care back at camp? Also nearly impossible. It took more than 2 people to keep one child alive. And that simple, brutal fact shaped how ancient humans thought about fatherhood itself. Because if survival depended on more support, more food, more protection, then maybe the answer wasn't sticking to one partner at all. Maybe the answer was spreading the risk. And one tribe took that idea further than almost anyone else in the historical record. Along the rivers of Venezuela lived a people called the Bari, and they held a belief that sounds strange to modern ears, but stay with me. The Bari believed a baby wasn't made by just one man. They believed every man a woman slept with during her pregnancy contributed something to the child growing inside her. Anthropologists call this idea partible paternity. So here's how it actually played out. A Bari woman, already partnered with one man, could openly take a second man too. Maybe he was a skilled fisherman. Maybe a strong, reliable hunter. And there was no scandal in it. No secrecy. No scam. The whole community accepted it as normal. When the baby was born, something remarkable happened. Both men showed up. Both claimed the child as their own son or daughter. One father brought fish from the river. The other brought meat from the forest. 2 providers, 2 protectors, for one single child. It wasn't chaos. It was a system. A deliberate, socially accepted way of stacking the odds in a baby's favor. And this wasn't just a cultural quirk with no real effect. Anthropologists eventually asked the obvious question. Did having 2 fathers actually change a child's chances of survival? The answer came from real data. And it's more dramatic than you'd expect. An anthropologist named Stephen Beckerman went and actually counted the children. Not guessed. Not theorized. Counted. And what he found should make you rethink everything about one dad, one mom, being the only path to a healthy family. Bari children with a second father. 80 out of 100 survived to age 15. Bari children with only one father. Just 64 out of 100 made it. That's not a small gap. That's a massive difference between life and death for a child. Think about why. 2 fathers meant double the food coming into that child's life. Double the protection. Double the number of adults watching out for danger. It wasn't about romance, and it wasn't about confusion over biology. It was survival math, plain and simple. The Bari weren't naive about how babies were made. They were solving a real life-or-death problem the same way engineers solve a structural weakness, by adding more support where it's needed most. And this wasn't some isolated fluke, either. When researchers looked at societies around the world, they found the Bari's flexible approach to fatherhood and partnership was actually far more common historically than the strict one-man, one-woman model we think of as traditional today. Here's the part that'll really mess with your head. The Bari weren't some bizarre exception buried in a remote jungle. An anthropologist named George Murdoch studied over 1,000 human societies across the entire world. And in 8 out of 10 of them, a man was allowed more than one wife. Strict lifelong monogamy, one partner, no exceptions for an entire life, was actually the rare arrangement, not the rule. And it wasn't just about multiple partners either. Ancient people traveled, too. Once or twice a year, scattered groups would gather in the hundreds, trading, feasting, dancing until dawn. And more relationships began at these gatherings than anywhere else. A whole new bloodline, a whole new family structure, could start with one night around a fire. So the picture of one faithful couple, alone, raising kids in quiet isolation since the dawn of time? That's a myth. It belongs to a much later chapter of human history, not the ancient one. What actually kept our ancestors' children alive was flexibility. More hands. More providers. More people willing to say, this child is mine too. The Bari just made that instinct official, out loud and unashamed. And honestly, that same instinct, the drive to protect a child by any means necessary, is still sitting inside you today.